Is up, everybody? It is Wednesday, April 19th, 2023. This is the Petty Eddie podcast, and it's also the Barking Brown show. This is not Tuesday. They were not on Tuesday due to Cavs playoff game, which we're going to talk about. So it's a crossover show. But before we even bring Nick and Jacob on, of course, I've talked to you about Homage, the greatest sponsor we have. All three of us have different shirts on. Clear Eyes, Full Hearts, Can't Lose. The NBA Jam mashup, and of course, Brown season year-round. So make sure to hit up homage.com. Check them out on Twitter at homage. Make sure to check out our links that we send out under the network _216 umbrella. Greatest shirts ever. Like they're super comfortable, super like breathable, soft. Like don't mess up in the wash, no matter if it's cold, hot, whatever. They got everything for you. Get your Cavs shirts now. They're in a big series right now with the Knicks. We'll get into that. The Guardians won earlier today. Get you some Guards gear. Like I said, it's Brown season all year round, so get some Browns gear. Not only the shirts great, the hoodies are great too. You can wear those when it's warmer out, when it's colder out. It doesn't really affect much. It adapts to you basically. Great hoodies. If you don't want that, sports, they do have like The Office and Ted Lasso and WWE and MTV and all sorts of different pop culture things. Make sure to check them out. Homage.com, at Homage on Twitter. Tell them we sent you. Hopefully they hook you up with some nice deals. Hopefully we hook you up with some nice deals at some point too. But that's for down the road.
We do have some cool things coming up with Homage soon, actually.
Oh, good. I like to hear that. See, I like to be kept out of the loop of these things, and I say that every week on this because I like to be surprised with everyone else. Like I might find out like maybe an hour before we
right
on Twitter. But yeah, so the Barking Browns join me, Jacob Roach, Nick Carnes. Again, they were not on last night because the Cavs were busy beating the crap out of the Knicks. It was a handily game. So Jacob, Nick, how you guys doing? Physically, mentally, spiritually?
Everything it's coming up aces across the board, man. Like the draft's in 8 days. We're kicking it off. We got a special announcement coming tomorrow about the network's coverage of the NFL draft. So that's tomorrow or Friday. I don't know when it's going to come out, but it's going to come out soon. The Guards were able to get a win today. The Cavs really entertained us last night. The Browns, I think, are in a pretty good spot. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about on them, surprisingly, on April 19th. And, of course, we're going to dive into some more draft stuff at the end of it. But I'm stoked. I'm ready to go.
You know what? I think we definitely used to hit a lull in this part of the year when we were all waiting for the draft because, the Cavs weren't in the playoffs for that few years there. And so it's so nice to have them back and just be playing this meaningful, exciting basketball. I know we're going to dive into it, but just their backs were against the wall last night, and they proved they belong. So it's like now we get to talk about that, and that's like a part of the fun too. I think Cleveland sports is a blessing because really, and especially it feels like now we're entering this era where you just have year-round competitive sports teams, and I bless. Hashtag blessed. That's it's amazing.
That's great. And you see Josh Mansfield, great friend of the show, great person to root us on and stuff. He was wearing his Network 261 Browns homage. He won that. I believe he won the March Madness, or he won something else.
No, he won the 1K. We did the giveaway for hitting 1K on YouTube. Yeah.
So there's someone who's not in our network who's vouching for homage. Make sure to check them out. And we have this one. This is probably my favorite comment ever. Barking Brown's Eddie Tag Team Champ. That's right.
Love it.
Mario too is his avatar. I love that even more.
Shout out to the Dog Chug going live later tonight at 10 o'clock. They got all kinds of fun content for you.
They're at 9. I think they're at 9 tonight.
Oh, 9 o'clock. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's us, Faithful Dogs, doing a mock draft after us, and I believe 9 o'clock Dog Chug goes live, and it's because Roger's he's been really tired lately. He just can't stay up very late anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 9. So this Andrew says, can we get to know Eddie a little better? Actually, we can at different points because at some point coming soon to the network, I haven't announced this to anyone but the group chat, but we're going to do like a get to know the team type series. Yeah. So tonight I'll sit down with someone and ask them questions that it's not Browns and Cavs and Guards, maybe like how they became a fan of those teams and whatnot. But we're gonna get to know the team more than outside of our Cleveland fandom and our fandoms and everything else. So that's coming soon. So yes, we will be doing that. That's coming. I don't even know the name of it yet. I don't want it to be Meet the Team. That sort of sounds stupid to me. So maybe I'll run a poll later tonight or tomorrow and see what people like is that. And also next week, I believe it's next week, we're doing it. Josh Mansfield, speaking of him, we're going to do a WWE draft, a mock draft of our own because they're doing the WWE draft here a week from Friday. So I think it starts Friday of the NFL draft and goes to Monday of Raw. So we're gonna do that. It's gonna be cool. But yeah, again, Faithful Dogs podcast at 8 right after us. Jack, Zach, Tyler doing a mini mock draft for you guys, and then right after that, 9 Dog Chug. I believe they have Mac at the Buffalo on. I believe that's what I saw earlier. And of course, their usual cohorts. You know, there's Roger, Ross, and Andy, and of course, Nick, help me out here. I can't think.
Roger, Ross.
No, Roger, Ross, and Andy, and then they have like Brown's fangirl. What's her name?
Sherry.
Sherry's on there sometimes.
I'm terrible with names, so usually
Sherry's great.
Them out.
Yeah, Sherry's great.
Great shows for you. But right now we're going to talk Cavs. Last night they came off a 107-90 victory, and it really wasn't even 17 points. It wasn't even that close, really. It didn't seem like. From the second quarter, actually from the end of the first quarter, Karis LeVert hit a 3 with like 0.3 seconds left to break a tie, put the Cavs up, and that sort of like pushed momentum, obviously, for Cleveland, and they took that and ran with it, and they limited the Knicks to like 21 points in the second quarter, 17 points in the second quarter, something like that. It was like 22, 17, 21, or 21, something like that. They didn't allow very many points. They allowed 60 through 3 quarters. That's an incredible win, and Darius Garland led the way. You know, he got somewhat, criticized in game 1. He didn't play great, but he came out, and I said he was playing like a man possessed last night, but all scores with 32 points on 8 of 17 shooting, 6 of 10 from 3, and 7 assists. Just a great game, and a great game all around. I don't watch as many Cavs games as you guys, obviously, and I don't even watch the regular season all that much anymore of my favorite team, the Lakers, who they play tonight later on. But I've watched some Cavs games just because, I'm in the Cavs bubble too of Twitter. That was probably the most complete game I've seen them play from start to finish all year long.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the way I looked at it most was you were looking at it, you went from a game where nobody really performed out except for Donovan Mitchell to a game where Donovan Mitchell just facilitated. Like, he had a career playoff high with 13 assists last night. Darius Garland he saw all the clippings, man, because DG he was possessed. He was a man possessed last night. Came out just firing it all over the place. Made sure to get multiple assists right after the gate, after everybody talked about his 1 assist performance in game 1, even though on a potential assists, his teammates shot 1 of 13 in game 1. So it wasn't as bad as a stat as what people wanted to do when they were tearing, because people love tearing Darius Garland down. Yeah. A side note I saw on Twitter was, when the Knicks won, and that was the very first thing Get Up talked about. When the Knicks lost, they didn't talk about it till 3 or 4 well into the show on ESPN. And, there's a New York fan running that show, and I love Greenberg, but we're looking at this situation where it was like, you allowed them to dominate the glass in game 1, especially offensively. The amount of second chance points that the Knicks took advantage of in game 1, I almost threw up. And it felt like at the beginning of the Cavs last night that they were going to do it again, because at the first quarter, they were allowing offensive rebounds and second chance points, third chance points, all this crap. It was bull crap. Then all of a sudden, Evan Mobley just went back into Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen stopped playing like a little wimp. And all of a sudden, everybody, Karis LeVert, Isaac Okoro still coming back. They ended up pulling Okoro and not playing as many minutes. Danny Green gave some quality minutes, and you saw everybody they needed to step up, and it was just a fantastic game.
It's quite a contrast to go from Darius Garland not taking a shot in the second half to being the leading scorer among everyone. So that was really encouraging to see. And you know what? Something Darius isn't really known for, his defense. There are so many clips of him just running around the court, like stuck to guys like glue. And that's really, I think, an underrated piece of what the Cavs were able to do last night. They held the Knicks to their second lowest point total of the season, which they scored 90, which, I mean, it wasn't even really, there was a nice little bit of garbage time at the end there where they scored some more. So I don't think that the final point total and that stat truly says how locked down the Cavs were. And it's kind of crazy, when you talk about the Cavs having the best defense in the NBA from this season, because, I mean, I think we all knew it was good, but you really got a taste of it last night. And to me, this was a game where the Cavs, a young Cavs team, very inexperienced overall, except for Donovan Mitchell and now adding Danny Green, their backs were up against the wall. Because if you go down 0-2, going back to New York, the series is more than likely over. And so I think this was a game where it's what are you made of, Cavs? And they answered the call. They showed a ton of heart, which they have all year. I think anybody who has seen them knew that they were not just going to go down without a fight. And I think they put, not only did they put themselves back in the series, but I think there's some psychological battles going on there. You could see the frustration on the Knicks. I very much think the Cavs can win the series. We learned a lot about them last night, and it's a lot of good if you're a Cleveland fan.
Cavs in 6.
Cavs in 6.
Cavs in 6. They say that a series doesn't truly start until the road team wins. Well, the Knicks started that off early. Game 1 came out, and they just dominated the glass. Last night was not the case. 43 rebounds for the Cavs, 36 for the Knicks. The Cavs shot incredibly well, too. They shot 38 of 47. No, that can't be right. That's not 47. They shot 49% from the field. They shot 42% from 3, and holding the Knicks to 36% shooting from the field and 24% from the field or from 3. The Knicks did go to the line 9 more times.
A lot, even though Knicks fans would make you think it's the other way with all the boo-hooing and crying they've done on the internet.
So much boo-hooing. Oh my God, it is a war on Twitter today between Cleveland and New York.
I just sat back and watched it.
I love it because I used to not like I like the Knicks because Carmelo was on there. They weren't my favorite team. It was always the Lakers, but I love Carmelo Anthony. But then they were like trying to blame him for why they sucked and all this when really it was Amari Stoudemire who got hurt and they didn't make trades to put guys around him and all that. So it's always fuck New York for me now. And I hate the Yankees, so I love when the Guardians play. I see all of Guardians Twitter band together and nothing else matters except the Yankees suck. I love the New York sucks chants.
Oh God.
That makes me so happy. But what I took from last night's game is they beat them handedly for the most part. 3 quarters, they beat them handedly. And Donovan Mitchell, he was a factor, but wasn't the factor of the game. He had 17 points, 13 assists. If you had told me that, I'd be like, oh, wow, that's going to be a close game. They held him to 17. Nope, not the case. He was able to take a step back and just be the facilitator a lot. And Garland was knocking down shots. Karis LeVert came off the bench with 24. And then Mobley had 13 and 13. He had some really nice dunks off the assists of Garland and of Mitchell. And what's great about it is for the Cavs is if the perimeter players are going to keep doing that, Mitchell's going to keep getting to the lane, and they're going to have to put 2 on him at all times or he's going to score. So it's sort of like pick your poison. They held Julius Randle to 22 points on 8 of 20 shooting, 3 of 7 from the field, 8 rebounds. Brunson had 20 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, but he shot 5 of 17 and 1 of 8. So not good for their stars. But Brunson and Mitchell, the 2 guys, I think are the keys to this year because they're the guys who got traded for and acquired and signed in free agency. And they really help turn these franchises around, not around, but get them over that hump.
Put them in the playoffs. Yeah, but both players put both franchises in the playoffs.
In a 4 and 5 seed. I forget how many they were separated by, like 2 or 3 games or something, but still 4 or 5 seed. Spider Mitchell thought he was going to the Knicks, and that was not the case. At the 11th hour, here comes the Cavs, and they put the package together, which I still don't understand. There's people that say that trade is still bad because Colin Sexton. I don't understand that. Donovan Mitchell is by far way better than Colin Sexton. That's not even a knock at Colin Sexton. It's just they wouldn't be in this position right now without him. But to have Mitchell do that, not much, 17 and 13, and then they still win by 17, and they were up 20, 25 most of the game. That's impressive.
There were a ton of questions about how are Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell going to play together? And there was, when the Cavs hit a couple of speed bumps throughout the season, there were people saying, oh, well, when one of them's out, the other plays better. And are they really that good together? And I think seeing Donovan recognize that Darius was hot last night, and like you said, Jacob, Donovan sets his career playoff high in assists. Right. I think it shows a lot of chemistry there where Donovan's okay if it's somebody else's night, if that's the way it's going. And he's still going to fill up the stat sheet and help the team win in a bunch of other ways. And I think that is what really gives me a ton of faith in this Cavs team. There's not that selfishness and that ego. And they are a young team and they're going to make mistakes. And no, I don't expect them to win the NBA Finals this year. But they're showing a ton of the attributes that you want to have and to say this team can be a title contender in the future.
Yeah, and you played Cavs basketball last night. Like, you didn't play Cavs basketball in game one. And last night, the things, the anticipation steals is my favorite aspect of this game. Darius Garland did it several times. Donovan Mitchell did it several times. Karis LeVert always normally gets himself one or two of those situations as well. And they stopped blowing fast break transition layups like they did in game one, where they missed like 4 of them. And I almost just ran through a brick wall head first as a result. But they just played Cavs basketball last night, man. And it's just like, it's going to be great. I'm ready for Friday. Bring it on.
I have a question for both of you, because Isaac Okoro got benched really quickly in that game. And I'm not trying to bring attention to it in a negative light, but JB Bickerstaff took a ton of heat in game one for his coaching decisions. And did it surprise you that Bickerstaff went away from Okoro, and did this put more faith in you about Bickerstaff moving forward?
I don't have a complaint with Bickerstaff because I don't watch them all the time, but I do see people say that this could be his last year, especially if they go out in this first round. I thought he's done an incredible job this year. They get 7 more wins than last year. Obviously, the Mitchell trade helps, but I think sometimes you have to get benched. Sometimes that gets players like snap out of it and like play better, and it sucks. Like, you never want to get benched, but it worked out for him last night, and Bickerstaff saw that, so he knew what he was doing there, and I think some of it has to be a little bit motivational. Like, yeah, we're the 4 seed, and here I am on the bench to start the second half when I just was starting the game. It's like, I don't want to be doing that, so that might help him step his game up. Or, it could further, plummet his mindset. Who knows? But I think it's more of a motivational thing.
And I think we've seen JB do that some this year. I think we've seen him make rotations. And sometimes, here's the funny thing about it. Sometimes he does it too late, right? Like, you're like, man, you did this for 3 quarters and you finally made adjustments in the fourth and it was productive, but you still lost the game. This was a situation where it finally was a really great in-game adjustment from him. And he's had some games here and there where he's done that, but a lot of his in-game rotation changes, they change game to game and not in the game. And this time it changed in the game, where it was like Karis LeVert goes, like, I like Isaac Okoro a lot, but he can't buy a shot right now at all. From mid-range, from 3, at the bucket even. It's Karis LeVert came in there, and he was Karis LeVert from the Pacers. Like, he was in there shooting the ball lights out, and he was playing great defense along the way, because that's one thing you can say. Well, I'm going to put Isaac back in there. He can play his brand of basketball, play good defense. Well, Karis was being a well-rounded basketball player that night, and Okoro's still coming back from the injury. It feels like he just can't elevate very well on that knee, and as a result, you're kind of like, well, let me go ahead and just who's playing the best basketball. He played who was playing the best basketball, and he wasn't getting much out of Isaac Okoro, so he put Danny Green in, and Danny Green gave okay minutes. I mean, it wasn't anything to blow you away. But what you didn't go say about Danny Green was, oh my God, Danny Green, what are you doing? And I love Okoro. I think he'll be fine. I don't think he's fine right now. And I think you finally saw JB kind of admit, okay, maybe I should be playing this lineup. And then he played that lineup, and it was successful.
Credit to him. I think that we're really excited about the Cavs on Friday. That's going to be a heck of an environment, especially coming off the way things got chippy down the stretch. So who knows where that's going to go? But it's great to see the Cavs back in this position, and it's great for them as a young team to experience this. So I can't wait to see what happens.
Yeah, I'm excited for the playoffs at the Garden. I do love Madison Square Garden a lot. I got to visit there a few years ago during WrestleMania weekend. It was incredible. So I do like playoff atmospheres there. I'm excited. I'm a big Spike Lee fan, so I'm excited to see him. And I just hope for a good series. I don't care about any other series except for the Lakers, and they come on here. We'll still be on the show. That's fine. I had them muted in the background, but I do love watching playoff basketball because it's more intense. I don't like watching the regular season much anymore. I just can't do much of it. Some big games I'll tune into towards the end of the year, but they don't play hard every night in there. Here in the playoffs, you have to play hard or you're getting ran off the floor. And I also want to see the Cavs win because I do not want to see a bunch of people pointing fingers at God knows who this offseason. I don't think they win the title, but I think they can make a run. I don't know if they even make the conference championship, but whenever they lose, I think they'll lose in the second round. But it's going to be fun, and I just don't want people on Cavs Twitter to be like, oh, well, this, and this is the reason. No, it's just because they probably ran into a better team, and that's okay because their window is wide open. They have a lot of pieces in place for the future. So this series should continue to be good. I'm excited for it. Before we continue, a couple weeks ago, I didn't address this on my show the night or after we found out about it, but just want to send my thoughts and condolences and well wishes to the family of Papa Mick. He was a great guy on Twitter to follow. Great Browns fan. Lost a courageous battle with cancer. He was fighting to the very end. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention him because he was a big part of Browns Twitter for a lot of people. I know Nick has had multiple conversations with them. Did you guys have him on your show once? Or did someone on the network have him on their show?
I believe he was on the Dog Chug.
He's been on the Dog Chug. But he's been very active on our show before. Yeah.
Right. So he's big in that. So I just wanted to say rest in peace to him. And he fought like hell. I also want to say fuck cancer. So I know I was a little bit solemn after we come down from a high, but I was thinking of it earlier, and I was going to do it at the beginning, but then I was like, no, we'll wait. And then so I want to get that in there now because that's a good trend. Not even a good transition. It's a transition into Browns talk. So rest in peace to him, and I hope his family's getting through this as best they can. But speaking of the Browns, they could not call Cleveland home for about 2 or 3 seasons. And when people hear that, and I specifically, worded this and how I wrote up my piece for Dog Pundit the other day is, they could play home games away from Cleveland, for 3 years. They're going to rebuild or reconstruct or do something to the Cleveland Browns Stadium, the recently named Cleveland Browns Stadium. First Energy and the Cleveland Browns parted ways mutually. Cleveland Browns Stadium again, and then in 2026 they're going to start renovations or rebuildings or whatever. We'll find out more Monday. So is it Columbus? Is it Canton? Where we're playing, boys?
Well, they kind of shot it down. It went on for about 12 hours, and then team spokesperson, it comes out and it just says they're not going to play away from Cleveland. They're like, we're not going to play away from Cleveland, which doesn't really add up to me because they're talking about a rebuild, not a remodel, but a rebuild. And my understanding is to tear it down, put it back up. Maybe not 100% tear down, but tear it to the studs, rebuild the studs and build it around that and that sort of thing. And you're looking at 2 to 3 seasons, they said, and, where are we going to do? And then people started freaking out because they were going to go to Columbus. And what did that mean with season ticket holders? Or they're going to go to Canton. What does that mean for season ticket holders? Because that stadium only holds 20,000 fans. And there were some people, I know Quincy Carrier on Twitter mentioned that maybe they could add 5,000 to 10,000 to Canton seats to that stadium, build it up a little bit and do some temporary seating and some things like that so they could house more people if they did that sort of thing. For me, if it moves south, it gets closer to me. So you're not going to hear a damn peep out of me. I know a lot of people are very upset, and I totally especially for this.
Do we lose him?
Hopefully, it's going to be several years from now. Anyway,
right.
But you're what is it?
You were freezing for a little bit.
Nah, well, it's a massive undertaking either way. But they're talking about it being a couple of years from now. I don't know. I don't think it's a crazy, outlandish idea. I want a good stadium. So what does that take? If it takes that, then I understand what they're going to do. But
Jacob is frozen in time.
He's working on it.
I'd be shocked if they move very far. I'm done.
Where could they go that's close? I don't know, the Cleveland area and the outside area.
I think Canton or Akron. I think if they go anywhere, it's going to be Canton or Akron because it's really not all that far for them to there.
I'd start by saying no matter where they go, I would still go there to see them. I know I have a lot of respect for all the people that travel long distances, yourself included, Jacob, to come to Browns games. And so I know that in general, that is a normal thing for a lot of fans. And so I'm very blessed to, be in the Cleveland area and not have to take a far hike. I just personally, I think the Browns provide an economic impact to Cleveland that no other team, the other two Cleveland sports teams obviously help a lot, but it's what happens on game day with the Browns is like no other to me. And so I would hate to see Cleveland lose that. Now, that being said, if that's what it takes to make our stadium and make the surround. See, the stadium itself, I don't think is the problem. Personally, I think it's the surrounding area. Modern stadiums and modern builds. I've gone to a Braves game recently. I've gone to games in Pittsburgh. Where did I just go? That's beside the point. Modern stadiums are building all kinds of fan attractions directly surrounding the stadium, right? And Brown Stadium doesn't have any of that. And yes, you can say the Science Center's right there, the Rock Hall's right there. Those aren't game day attractions. You're not going to the Rock Hall in general as a game day thing for the Browns. There's no bars or restaurants within any kind of reasonable surrounding area or really any kind of events. And so I think that it would benefit the Browns and it would benefit the fan experience overall if they could build. And I know they've talked about the land bridge as well, right? Making it easier for people to walk there and get to and from Cleveland, because that's another piece is that it's really hard to get down there if you're not early. So I definitely think that all of those aspects of game day need to be upgraded. And sure, I don't think we're going to get a dome. I still want a dome. There's opinions all over the board there, but it does make sense, right? If you're going to add this land bridge, if you're going to try and add all these attractions to people, you might as well get the stadium upgraded and modern as well. So I'm in support of that. I don't know what the best answer is because, like Jacob said, it seems weird for them to say, okay, this is going to take 3 years, but we're not going to go to Columbus. And like, I don't know how the Browns would continue to play in the stadium. Maybe there's a way that they could like really strategically like piece it out each year so that it could still be fun. I don't know. That's a whole mess. I know it needs to be done. So definitely looking forward to getting more details.
Right. I do know that they were talking about rebuilding for a while now. Not rebuilding, but either, like upgrading it, because there are some things that there are spots in the Brown Stadium. If you've been there and been to certain sections, you can see that that doesn't look right. So they're going to try and redo that. And that was going to be my next question: dome or no dome? I don't care either way. Like, it'd be cool if they had a dome because it brings more opportunities to the city of Cleveland. The Final Four. I doubt a Super Bowl would ever go there, even with a dome. WrestleMania could go there. The Final Four, like I said, of basketball or the hockey. You can have a bunch of concerts there. You can do a lot of things there, but without a dome, I don't care either way. Like, it's not going to hurt my feelings one way or another. I'll either go freeze at Browns games like I have for the times I've been there, or I'll be in a dome where I'll probably just be able to wear a hoodie from homage and just be like, all right, cool. So Jacob, what dome? No dome?
Yeah, God, yes. Especially if you're going to do this, where you're going to like tear it down to the studs and you're going to play elsewhere, wherever that may be. We'll see what happens. If you're going to do something like that, go big, man. Like, you now own a quarter of the Bucks. You got enough money. Like, you got enough money. Don't give me that bullshit.
It's not a money issue.
Well, but some people have said that. Some people are like, well, were they really going to do that because it's going to cost them this? Who gives a shit? They've got the money. Go out, get it done. If you're going to take this much time and potentially play games somewhere else, even if it's in Cleveland, but you're potentially playing somewhere else in a temporary situation, get it right. Build the damn dome.
But I did read that the original foundation of where the stadium is built, adding a dome to that would cost $2 to $3 billion more, which he has. Well, he has money, obviously, but at the same time, that adds way more weight, and that foundation can't support that. So that is a reason why I don't think the dome is coming. They'd have to redo the entire foundation. I don't think that's a 3-year project, And and I know Browns fans are upset. Oh, we have to travel to Cleveland, and what happens to the season ticket? And I get all that, but that'll be addressed. Like, they'll either refund you your money and save your spot in line, or give you first access to wherever the games are played. I don't know, but if it's Cleveland, is Progressive Field an option?
They'd have to do. I mean, this stadium fits how many? I think it holds like 20,000. So you probably have like the same issue as if you went to Canton.
Yeah.
So that's kind of because the Progressive has kind of gone the other way, where they've removed some of the seats in favor of attractions and that kind of thing. So I mean, I guess you could, but again, you're not going to have the same because Brown Stadium holds what, like 60,000?
Yeah,
Okay.
about 67, I think.
67. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, but where can they go that's not going to be that big of a difference? Because they go to Columbus, it's going to be 20-something thousand. How much does the Hall of Fame hold in Canton?
It's in the 20s, yeah.
So that's why people propose the shoe, right? Because the shoe holds like 100.
Yeah.
Right. So like that, realistically, if you're trying to fit fans and if you're trying to get in more to the Columbus market, which is heavily, contested between Browns, Bengals, I think that makes sense. I get why they would, but it seems like they've shot the idea down. So
I just don't get how they could do that because they'd have to change the field, like the logos and stuff, from Ohio State on Saturday to Browns by Sunday. And I don't know how possible. I'm not a
That's true. I just think, what, this decision and what you do is like a 30-year. This isn't like, oh, let's change our mind in 2 years and add a dome or whatever. Like you whatever you decide now is going to impact the Browns for a long time to come. And I worked with a company and gave away some tickets to the Browns Saints game this year, which at the time when we planned it like a month before, it seemed like a great idea and everything was going to be good. Well, lo and behold, it was like -10, right? And the fans in the stadium, I mean, it was and shout out to all those fans that went.
That did go, yeah.
I don't know if it was more than 20% full.
No.
Right? And so when you only have, 8 to 9 real opportunities a year to fill that stadium up and maximize the revenue, I don't know how, as an owner, you could look at that and say, you know what, let's just not build a dome. And you know what, you've referenced Indianapolis, Eddie. I was in Indy this year, and I saw what they've done up close with their stadium. They have all these insulated indoor land bridges that go. You can go from so many parts of the city to Lucas Oil Stadium without ever being outside. It's amazing, and it's no wonder that they get all the events that they do. And so, you look at it and you're like, this is common sense. There are so many things you could do if you just make this place indoors. And I think in general, your attendance would be all the better, through anything, because you don't make people sit through the nonsense that comes off that lake all the time. That's just me. I know I see MC Lawrence doesn't agree. That's my take.
See,
how many games do you go to a year, MC, in the cold?
I'm going to watch the Browns, and it's December. I know damn well what's going to happen in December. I think it was November. Whatever game it was that Miles hit Rudolph with the helmet, I was at that game. It was freezing cold. I didn't care. I was like, sweet, I'm here. Great. Mm-hmm. Like, so a lot of fans are going to do that. If the Browns were like a winning team for this year and, they weren't flirting with the playoffs and the Saints eventually knocked them out, then maybe they fill that up even with 10-degree weather. But, so winning goes into that too. But if I'm there, if I'm going to take the 2.5-hour drive over to Cleveland, then I'll freeze for 4 quarters and, the 2.5 hours home if I have to. Like, that's just me, but I get why people don't want to sit in 10-degree weather. And wasn't that around Christmas, like a week before Christmas or the day before Christmas?
But Eddie, what if you didn't have to freeze?
I mean, I would like not to freeze, but if I go to Cleveland, Ohio in November, December, January, hopefully January sometime,
yeah,
I know what to expect. I know, hey, it's going to be freezing cold. The lake's right there. It's going to be freezing. Great, bring it on, because that's, like MC Lawrence said, it's football weather. I'll layer up. I'll layer up, and I'll drink as much beer as possible till I don't feel the cold anymore. And then
fair enough.
I suppose you could just get a little lit and just be like,
hey, the Muni lot will live forever, whether it's in the same location or it's a different location. It will live forever. I'll go there. I've been there like once or twice now. Once, I think. I stood in line to pee for like almost an hour. It was crazy. But I can go over there, get myself in tune before the game, go in, pay a bunch of money for 5 or 6 beers, and I'll be good. But I wouldn't mind, having a space where I wouldn't have to freeze. But if I freeze, I freeze.
Hey, side note, congratulations to former Cleveland Cavaliers head coach Mike Brown for winning Coach of the Year with the Sacramento Kings.
He deserves that.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he does.
And another side note, speaking of winning, congratulations to me. I won a darts league championship with me and my friends. I didn't know they were getting these. Usually they do a plaque for the team that you give to the home bar you have, and then the top 10 individuals get a plaque or a little trophy of their own. And this year they made them all for us winners. So all 4 of us got one of these nice things, as you can see. We'll see Soft Tip Dart League champions.
Got a name on there and everything.
Look at you.
The only flaw is the B is not capitalized in boys. The boys, from the TV show. That's all right. Beggars can't be choosers. I wasn't expecting this. We had our banquet last week. Got the plaques. 2 of my teammates got in the top 10. We all got a handful of pins. It was incredible. My 0-1 average. I'm not sure because we don't play singles, Andrew. We just play team 0-1. So I do not know what the average would be. I don't know if it's very high, but we won. So so shout out to me too, and shout out to my team.
There it is.
Ty, Bruce, Cody, shout out to you guys. But yeah, moving forward, you guys are going to take over a little bit because this is where Jacob excels. This is where I do not excel, and I will say that talking about it in podcasting, and I don't write about it. I did a lot more last year than I ever have for Dog Pound Daily. But the NFL draft, we are 8 days away. Well, actually, we are more than that because the Browns draft doesn't.
We're like 8. We're like 9.5. But yeah.
Do they start Friday or do they start Saturday? The Browns.
Friday. Friday's round. Day 2 is so Thursday will be round 1. Next Friday will be rounds 2 and 3, and then Saturday is 4 through 7. So we got some great announcements coming up. We have a massive top 100 player interview coming next Monday. We'll release who that is on Friday. Will I fangirl like I did when I interviewed Alex Wright last summer? You bet your ass I will. And we got that coming. Some great cover. We're setting up some really awesome announcements, some coverage of the actual draft coming up next week. We'll set that stuff up tomorrow. We got working on getting a bunch of people in and out. It's going to be a really great time. But the draft's about to start, boys. And so that means as we wrap this show up, we've got, 20 minutes. We got like a 20-minute here. We got a 20-minute here before the boys come on here and do a live mock draft. Side note, don't let me forget to tell you guys about my favorite new show. Before we wrap this up, let's talk about my favorite news show at the end because you guys, you have to hear about this. So I asked the guys, I said, give me some names. Just give me some names, some positions, some guys that you really like. And we kind of titled the show after this, but it's really going to only be like a quarter of the show or whatever, which who gives a shit? It's Eddie's show. It's our show. We can do whatever the hell we want.
Right.
And but a dream wish list, that's what I wanted to talk about. And I know Nick worked really hard on his wish list. So I'm going to let him go first. And just a player, a position. Well, a player. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
just any player. It doesn't have to be your top target. It can be like I've got some players that I think should be their top targets at 74. But there's actually some players in the 4th and 5th that I like more because I look at their upside and all of that other stuff that I'm like, oh, I love this guy. So wherever you want to start, man, give me a guy you love off the rip.
Okay, so we were talking to Kyle last week, I believe, and no, it might have been 2 weeks ago. No, it's irrelevant. But we were talking about Marvin Mims, and at the time I said that I did not have enough information to talk a whole lot about that, and I wanted to follow up because that's what we're all about here. And so I've done me some learning between now and then, and I have learned the good word of Marvin Mims, a guy that isn't the biggest guy. And I understand that, but you're talking about somebody, and I have some stats for you, that had a little over 20 yards of reception, 6 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards, 1,083 to be exact, on 54 receptions. A guy that is dynamic, was a playmaker, explosive, not, like I said, not a guy that you're drafting for size, but a guy that you're drafting to be a future weapon in your room. And I think that the Browns are so well positioned right now when they added Elijah Moore to bring in somebody that they don't have to put a lot of pressure on to start. And with Marvin Mims, I think there's a lot to like there. His relative athletic score was very good. I don't remember the exact number right now, but I know it's very good. And he at Oklahoma, which I mean, so we're talking about this Oklahoma pipeline again, but somebody that is explosive, that can win down the field, that has been very good with contested catches and that kind of thing. I feel like all of those attributes line up with Deshaun Watson, and so I'm no Jacob, in terms of my prospect evaluation, but I know dynamic playmaking when I see it. I think that's the type of guy. And when we were talking pre-show about where he could go, there hasn't been a whole lot of consensus. I think that the biggest knock on him is overall size and wingspan. But if you're a guy that can get open, I believe in this offense, that's the place that the Browns want to be. And so when you're a good athlete, when you can get open, when you're winning at the point of the catch, I think that's the type of dude that makes a ton of sense for the Browns. So I've bought into the good word of Marvin Mims. There it is.
941. He has a
941
round score.
And that's the thing. Andrew Berry loves his dynamic athletes, loves the guys that test well. He's in the right age range. Everything about it screams Andrew Berry and Browns. I'm in.
Here's the thing about Marvin Mims. He's not the biggest guy, but don't tell him that, because go watch his contested catch opportunities against the big, strong, physical corners. Marvin Mims don't give a shit. Like, he don't. Dude just going to go out there and play ball. Like, you're just talking about a dude that is a chunk play machine, and he's going to make people miss. He has good, borderline elite, I might even call it elite straight line speed, but he definitely has elite football speed. So that what he can do inside and outside, listen, he can play in the slot. He did a lot of damage from the slot. Don't discount him. Just like Elijah Moore, don't discount Marvin Mims. He can play inside, outside. I would not be shocked to see Marvin Mims there at 74. I wouldn't be shocked to see Marvin Mims go in the top 50. That's how good of a football player I think he is. And if the NFL wants to say, and I have heard this lately, I have heard a ton of chatter that we are higher on wide receivers than the NFL is.
Really?
That's fine. Okay. Let him fall. Let him sit there at 74, and let's just load up and let's just sling the damn rock.
Yes, okay. Please.
So, Jacob, I'm going to switch your thing. So you told Nick, or told people to pick a player, pick a position. So I'm going to pick a position. You give me someone off your list.
I can do that.
Let's go linebacker to start.
Linebacker to start, it's Dorian Williams. It's always Dorian Williams for me, man. Like, there's some other guys I like quite a bit to go up and down depending on where it is. But where I think the Browns are going to do it, probably at 98 or 111 if Dorian Williams is there from Tulane. This dude is just elite sideline to sideline tracking. Like, he is, I think he's a better coverage linebacker than he is in run support. But, like, you're looking at a dude that had 93 solo tackles this year on PFF's grade, over 30 assists to go along with that. Pretty good pass rusher. But I think he's a really good coverage linebacker. I think he's the kind of coverage linebacker. Like, you know how they want to play a lot of these, like, 2 linebacker sets with JOK and another linebacker against the, like, 3 and 4 wide receiver sets they're going to see? I think Dorian Williams would be perfect for that. You're talking about a really nice athlete in Dorian Williams. Let me bring up his testing for you real quick. Again, you're looking at a small town school. Gets an 8.81 relative athletic score. Plays with his hair on fire. And he's just a leader, man. Like, you can tell people gravitate to Dorian Williams, and they just absolutely love him.
So how would he play alongside JOK? Like, how would that?
I think he can play Mike. I think he might be a better Will, but I think he can mirror JOK. Like, I think, especially in those passing sets, I think he can be a really yin to the yang of JOK. Some people would like him to be a little bit bigger to play Mike, and that might be true, but with some bigger defensive linemen in front of him, I don't think that's an issue.
Fair enough.
Nick, what's next?
So Jacob, you talked a little bit about this guy, and I've done a little bit of reading as well. And I've come to the light of the Moro Ajomo train, who looks like a guy who, number one, is 6'3". He's got a long wingspan. He's a good athlete. He's young. He is good in the run game and projects to be a defensive end. I believe so. Jacob, my understanding is he played more defensive tackle in college, but we're looking at him to be a defensive end in the pros.
Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people it's his size, kind of have a feeling that he's more of an edge. And I think he is, because he's built. That's a cut dude for being as big as he is. He's at 290. somewhere in that range. I think he projects 280 is what he played at. So he does play as a big defensive end, I think.
So he had 3 sacks last year, 4 quarterback hits. I think so. A lot of times with the Browns, we've been talking about them going potentially 3 deep at defensive end, right? With his name always escapes me from 2 years ago. The defensive end they added from Atlanta that played pretty well for us for a little bit. I can't remember his name, but
Tarek McKinley.
Yes, thank you. So they did it with McKinley, and then last year they did it with Chase Winovich. And this year, you've already got Miles, Alex Wright, and Obo, right? But I want to go further. I want to reach farther. I want to have 4 defensive ends that I can count on. And so to me, I think that makes a ton of sense when you're looking at another guy who's lengthy, a great athlete, somebody that is a known for his effort that can help you in the run game, right? Because the Browns, we've seen that whole story. We don't want to get gashed in the run game anymore. I think it makes a ton of sense to try and bring in another dude who's a stellar athlete because I have high hopes for Alex Wright. I have high hopes for Obo. And obviously Myles Garrett speaks for himself. But I just think that I would really like to have some concrete plans in that defensive end room moving forward. And I think that that a guy with Morrow's upside, because of the athlete he is, because of the size he has, is something that the Browns could greatly benefit from adding. Because and maybe Isaiah Thomas is your D4, like that could very well be the case. But I don't hate at all adding. I see your facial expression for everybody who's listening after. So I think that could be where we go.
Huh. I like Ojimo. I like Keandre Coburn better. Like if you're talking about defensive tackles from Texas, give me Coburn. But dude score Ojimo, like he's definitely got the. I just think he's so much of a tweener. I'm not really sure where he plays, but he had a 917 RAS, and so he definitely measures up to the build. But if you're going to go with an inside-outside guy at that position that you want to focus on edge, I'd prefer to go after Derek Hall, but I'm pretty sure he'll be gone by then.
Okay.
RJ, give me a safety.
Safety is okay. Oh, God. Yeah, you don't know what you just did. So there is a safety that I stumbled upon just a few weeks ago, and I was a little upset that I hadn't watched any of his tape prior to that, and that's Jartavius Murray at Illinois. And he's overshadowed by 2 really good players. Devon Witherspoon's the best corner in this draft, and he's plays there in Illinois. And then you got Sidney Brown playing safety as well. Jartavius Martin is a slot corner first and foremost. He is a safety that plays in the slot. He does play a lot of deep. He did have 200 snaps this year as a deep free safety, and he plays really nice in there. But I think Jartavius Martin is best as a slot defender. He's got the size and physicality to play the run from the interior. He's a good athlete. And I'll say this, he's a good athlete in a class at safety that is not good, in terms of athleticism. He got a 929 RAS, so he's very explosive. I don't think he has elite straight line speed. So if he gets it with a really, really true, elite burner style slot guy, I think he can struggle there. But he has that short area quickness and change of direction that you need to play in the slot. And he's Jartavius Murray. I always call him Jartavius Murray. It's Jartavius Martin. He loves contact. This is what I like to compare. They're not the same player. Let me say this before I say that. They are not the same player, but there are some Martin Emerson kind of comparisons that you could see in terms of his size and physicality. I think he's a better athlete than Martin Emerson is, and he plays inside and deep rather than outside corner. But if you could think about the physicality size of Martin Emerson, put that inside and add more athleticism, and also can play deep free safety, I think he's a really smart player. I think he's kind of tight in his hips sometimes. I think he flips his hips too fast from time to time, that sort of thing. But he's a really good athlete. He excels at a position they don't have, which is a true slot defender. And then He is a free safety a la one Thornhill backup style, and he just hits two right off the two dingers off the top.
Excellent.
This is a deeper cut that is courtesy of Jack Duffin because because
He's the man, by the way. I still
yes.
have to go back and listen. I have not caught up on many of my podcasts that are outside of the network in so long. I think I've listened to one or two new ones in the past 3 weeks. I'm terrible with it. Like, I can't listen to them while I watch a game, or it's weird. Like, I can't listen to them while I'm driving. I have to listen to music when I'm driving. So I went back and finally listened to Ken Carmen on the Barking Brown, or on the Yard Dogs podcast, and it was fantastic. I always have to go back like in time, so I'll probably listen to Jack in a while. But Jack's gonna come on my show at some point.
Okay.
I gotta get with him to get times. But that was sweet that you guys had him.
He's awesome.
Oh no, it was great. And you know what? So not all of these names are going to be the sexiest names because the Browns are picking later, right? You got a bunch of picks later on in the draft, so they're not going to all pop out of the page at you. But there's definitely been some questions and concerns about Harrison Bryant, right? So allow me to introduce Davis Allen, tight end out of Clemson. I don't know why I wanted to say Atlanta. Tight end out of
There's
Clemson.
A lot of really good tight ends, yeah.
Okay. So he had 5 touchdowns last year on 39 receptions, 443 yards. But a guy that is known, he's got a long wingspan. He's a sure catcher, not the greatest run blocker and not an insane athlete, but a guy that when you're looking and you're saying, okay, well, if Harrison Bryant's getting towards the end of his rookie deal and you've brought Jordan Akins in, but we're not really sure, because Jordan Akins is a little bit older, right? So it could benefit you to bring in a guy who's 6'6", long wingspan, sure-handed catcher. The kind of dude, like, that's the perfect opportunity for a tight end to come in. You have time to develop him. There's no pressure. It can be a later pick, and let him compete with Harrison Bryant. Let's see who comes out on top of that competition. I think if the Browns were to draft a tight end late, that would not surprise me in the least because it's certainly one of the positions where if it doesn't work out, there's not really anything largely lost there. And if it does, you've got a guy that there's no pressure on, you can just let develop.
Yeah,
that's a great segue for you. I was going to ask you about tight end.
Yeah. So I like Davis Allen, but if you're looking at there's two guys. One's Tucker Kraft, which I'm not really going to get into Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State too much because I just don't think he's going to be there.
Okay.
I think he's a problem. Like when a tight end who just runs a pretty much exclusively seam routes is your best player, that's all you need to know about an offense. And that's not a knock on Tucker Kraft. Zach Kuntz, the Old Dominion product, he is a little bit older. He starts at Penn State. This dude scored a perfect 10 on the RASC. He has a perfect 10 on the relative athletic score. He just only has 13 catches. You go back at Old Dominion last year, he starts at Penn State, goes to Old Dominion, and you look at him and you say, okay, he didn't really ever do anything in college. No, he didn't. He never played with any good quarterbacks or any good coaches either. But this dude is literally the best quote unquote athlete that we have seen since the relative athletic score was a thing in terms of grading on that scale. Dude's a 6'7" doing this, by the way. Keep that in mind. He's 6'7" and an absolute freak. He's got the strength to block. He does not play with a very good pad level, does not play with a ton of great leverage. I know a guy who can teach him how to do that. But you're talking about we're going to be taking a lot of chances on traits. This is something that the Browns have already done, but you're going to see that you have 6 day 3 picks right now, 6 of them. I don't know if they'll use them all. I kind of actually think they will, but I think they might move around and add some picks for next year and that sort of thing. But when you're looking at this and you're like, I just want to take a chance on a dude that could just absolutely blow up. I love Davis Allen. He's got an 8.58 on the relative athletic score scale. That's what I'm starting to say, RAS scale, because you don't say RAS score because then you're saying relative athletic score. But I'm trying to words anyway. I'm just saying, man, like this tight end class, like I think you can go in the 5th and get a tight end that will be a starter, not day one, but 2 to 3 years down the road. Dude, listen, Akins is in his 30s, still a great athlete. He played other sports. That's why he's older and you haven't heard of him necessarily. But let those guys play for 2 or 3 years. Let Zach Kuntz figure some things out, get him some special team snaps, get him to learn a little bit how to block better. We haven't seen an athlete like that. He is the tight end that holds the perfect score at number 1 in the relative athletic scale. So,
all right, before we get out of here, Jake, that was great. I'm going to look into these guys. Like, I know you guys write about them all the time, and a bunch of people on Dog Pound Daily and where you write Browns Nation or Browns Wire. Sorry, I don't know why I was saying Browns Nation. But I need to read up on these guys before the draft because I don't care about the draft that much. It's just a crapshoot to me. So it's not my thing. I love that other people love it, like you love it, and like I love that. But what is this show? I've been waiting all episode. What is this show that you've been waiting to tell us about that you just started?
So this is fucking Night Agent. This Night Agent. It's a Netflix original.
Okay.
Well, I don't have Netflix anymore, so.
Well, you use my login. So it's like this show where there's this guy that works in the basement of the White House. He works for the FBI and the White House. And there's this room where there's this night agent phone. And like when you have like FBI agents and like spies and stuff and they're in trouble, they call this landline phone that never rings. It never rings. But it rings this
in this show.
Oh,
excellent.
And now it's like, oh my God, you've got assassins coming after this dude. He's trying to save this girl's life. And they're like going all over the place. He's beating people up. And then there's a mole in the White House.
That seems pretty good.
I'm in.
I might be a Netflix account for that.
There's just no breaks from Cleveland sports. Every day there's more Cleveland sports. I can't watch any of these Netflix shows. Guardians today, Cavs the next day, draft.
Thanks to the Cavs last night putting on such a performance, I stopped watching that game in the 4th quarter and I went to the new Ted Lasso episode. So if you haven't watched Ted Lasso, check that out. Apple TV, fantastic. But we're about to wrap this up. This has been great. The Barking Brown Show, Petty Eddie podcast. We did a special collab due to the Cavs. So thanks, Cavs, again. That's been great.
Thank you, Eddie.
On Twitter, you see Jacob there, Roachism13, Nick at Carnsey817, me at Kingward15. Obviously, follow the network at network_216. Be sure to go like our YouTube channel. It's the same thing at network_216. Like this video if you think we did well enough. Like all the videos if we think we did well enough.
Eddie. I got one last thing.
Because I was stalling for a second. Go ahead.
Thank you. Jacob and I last week teased for the episode 100 we were going to give away some homage gear, and just because of some complications, we dropped the ball on making the giveaway official and doing that whole process. So what we're going to do is tomorrow we are going to tweet out our giveaway, and we're going to give everybody a week to do it. We'll announce the winner of the giveaway on next week's Tuesday Barking Brown Show, assuming there's not a Cavs game on Tuesday, but I don't think so because the game 4 is on Sunday and they normally have two days apart. So I assume it'll be on Wednesday. But regardless, the next Barking Brown Show will have a winner of our homage gear because the most valuable thing you can give to anybody is your time. And, making it over 100 is a hell of a blessing. So thank you all. We'll make sure to get that out, give everybody a fair chance to win because your support means everything to us. So, and Eddie, thank you for allowing us to be a part of this show with you, man, because
of course.
Did you know a shrimp's heart in its head?
On that note, until next week, for Jacob, Nick, myself, go Browns.
Go Browns.
Whoop, whoop.